I'm Joe Alessi, and welcome to the Palos Verdes Peninsula Network, PVPN. This is our inaugural show, and I am very fortunate today to have the head coaches from the two high schools on the peninsula, Palos Verdes High School and Peninsula High School. We have Dave Young and Guy Gardner, and we're going to talk a little football today, obviously. We're going to talk about what it's like to be a head coach, some of the things that they've been dealing with on and off the field. And right now it's August 9th. We're in the heart of the summer. It's getting very hot. It reminds me back of the day when I used to play as well on the peninsula. I played at Maryland High School. And these two gentlemen also played in the South Bay. Dave played at Mary Star, and Guy played at Maricosta. And we actually crossed paths a little bit. We were 1 year apart, so we didn't even know it at the time. So Dave, tell me, right now, you've got double days going on. Tell us how practice has been going in general.
It's been good. I'll be honest, we have one double day left tomorrow, and we're all done with them. They've been pretty grueling, I'm not going to lie, and just the amount of time we're spending with each other is important, but the amount of work we're doing is the more important piece. Training people, young men I should say, that have never played football before, because we have a lot of those that come out for their first time, and trying to get them through double days is a challenge in its own right. So.
Yeah. You know, I was reflecting back on when we were kids, you know, double days, I think we were lucky to get a hose break, right? You got to fill your helmet with water and drink out of your helmet. And now you've got these great stations for water. You're playing music, right? It's a different atmosphere. Like the kids are, you're trying to really relate to the kids in a different way than they did when we were kids.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And I think it's all about giving a little bit to get more out of them. And, you know, we have a water buffalo out there with 8 hoses of ice water. We had 4 faucets when I was in high school, then it was hot water, and we were discouraged to drink it. So times have definitely changed there.
Yes.
And you mentioned the music part. That's just something that some of my coaches ask, do you mind if we play it? I says, as long as they listen.
Right.
And I say, you know, it's kind of like crowd noise and distraction anyway.
Right.
So
Right.
It's cool.
Great, great. And you know, the weather is different on the peninsula, as we know, right? So I know that Palos Verdes High School is closer to the coast. Sometimes people will think, oh, they got it pretty easy. They got some cloud cover, right? But
and there's a lot of
I was down there yesterday,
and
and it was very hot yesterday as well. But talk about what you're dealing with right now.
Yeah, the weather's not really an issue. Sometimes I worry that it's not hot enough where we are. So we're very fortunate. It does sneaky get hot, but nothing what Coach Young's dealing with on the other side, or what anybody else is dealing with about 15 minutes inland. Yeah, we're in the second week of, we like to call it fall camp because we just try to have some fun out there. No, it's tough. It's, back in the day, we used to do true two-a-days. That doesn't really exist that much anymore. And in the day, maybe even 5 or 6 years ago, when Coach and I were together, we had the guys going through actual two-a-day practices. And for a lot of good reasons, we don't necessarily do that anymore. But, we're coming along. Kids are working hard. Certainly not near where we need to be, and they know that. So a lot of work left. But we're grinding, as they say.
Yeah, and and one of the there's been a lot of money generated by the I don't know if it's just the parents, and because you don't get the funding that other schools get. So you do have now 2 gorgeous fields with turf, right? And that. Obviously, I think with the sun makes it a little hotter on the turf too,
absolutely.
as well, right?
Absolutely, and I mean, I'll speak from experience because we didn't have the turf before, and we used to practice in the pit, which was a nice shady grass field that gave off actually coolness. Now we're on this barbecue, I call it, because you could see it radiating up sometimes, and if you fall onto it, I mean, you'll lose skin. It's hot.
And one of the things too, as you said earlier, we don't have lights here on the hill. So the games are in 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it tends to be hot, beginning of the season anyway. And you got teams coming up that are expecting to play under the lights normally. So you have a little bit of an advantage there with your kids kind of conditioning in that element, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something we preach is they're going to come to our elements. Let's get comfortable in our elements so they're uncomfortable, and we can take advantage of that,
I recall when they did the Palos Verdes field, when they turned it from the old grass field, that it was literally not even level. They had to raise up the west side of it, right? Where
the field used to be lower. Yeah. Actually, the stands were higher than the field. Yeah. If you were in a low row, you had to kind of look up and watch. So yeah, we've had the field done and then redone. So it's been done twice. And yeah, we're very fortunate to have it. And I don't know how many, when Coach and I were coaching together, probably one lesson I did give him, not many, but one I did give him is don't do the bear crawls in the hot weather. We did that a few years back, and yeah, I didn't realize how hot the turf was, and yeah, we had a few blisters.
Well, let's touch on that. So these two actually knew each other prior to being head coaches individually. Back in 2005, I believe you started coaching at Palos Verdes High School, where Coach Gardner was already the coach. And then you ventured off to Penn in 2016 to become the head coach, right? So talk about how you guys did you know each other before 2005, or did you just happen to interview, and talk about how that took place?
I think Guy was at Pacifica at that time. And I had moved from Mary Star, took a year off and got married, and then jumped back into coaching with Pat Fresh, who was the head coach of PV at the time. And that was till 2009, I believe, when Coach was hired. But I met Coach, I'll never forget, I walked out of the interview because we both interviewed for the head job at Palos Verdes. And Guy Gardner, so I said, hey, nice to meet you. And I heard so many great things about him. And when it came down to it, they said, you're going to love working with this guy. You're going to understand exactly why he's the head coach. And I was like, okay, I just want to coach, I'll be honest. And everything was true. I mean, we did, I told him the other day, it was some of my best days coaching, most memorable. We not just the CIF title games, but the kids, the experiences. I told him, we went to Wild Rivers for a team building experience. And my son was like this, maybe 4 at the time, and now he's playing for me, and he told me about it the other day. He goes, remember when we went? And I was like, yeah. So those type of moments resonate more than anything, but coaching with them was always a pleasure. Coaching against them is not so fun.
Yeah, well, I know obviously you lost him in 2016, but I know you wanted him to go
I knew
on,
every year I was holding my breath that I knew, it was very obvious when we were working together that Coach Young was the head coach. And so and he has the passion to do it. And so I knew that was going to happen at some point. And then I think as any decent coach, I don't want to lose good coaches, but and he, every year I was kind of going, okay, is this? And so when it happened, it made total sense. Could have happened the year that I got there. So it was great having Coach Young on the staff, and we had a good time, good experiences. Our kids grew up, and my kids also went on the bus trips, Wild Rivers and stuff. So yeah, it was awesome. But he's doing a fantastic job at Peninsula, as I knew he would, as I knew wherever he was going to go from there. But it made everything just made sense. Yeah. And go back a little bit, since we're talking about the early 2000s. Yeah, Coach Fresh reopened the program. And I always say this, and because it's true, that he put that back on at Palos Verdes High School when the school was shut down for quite a while. He's responsible for putting that. He went through some tough times, back when they had no juniors or seniors, and they're playing a varsity schedule, and so a lot of credit goes to him as well. Yeah. Getting football back at that high school.
Well, you guys had a lot of success together. You won 2 CIF championships, right? 2012, 2014, I believe.
Yeah.
We're connected in another way where my 3 boys came up through the program, and my oldest son, Dean, was on the 2012 team, and that was a phenomenal year, obviously. And that was the first championship since, 1965 or something?
Yeah. So. And Coach and I were together, and all the coaches. It was awesome. Yeah, it was. That truly does take. It's not me. It takes everybody together. It's everybody together, and that was a great group.
And one thing that's different nowadays, and so I was in the Pioneer League, which was Merritt Costa was in back in the day. 1984, I graduated. Back then, there was basically just one winner of the league, and that one went on to CIF and tried to perform. They do it differently now, where they base it on, I think, performance from previous years, and then they bracket things differently, where you could come in a different place at the end of the league play and still go on to be in the playoffs, right? Yeah. So it's a completely different dynamic, right? So do you want to?
Well, I mean, and I'll always confuse things, but certain leagues get a certain amount of automatic bids, and the Bay League gets 3. So first, second, and third from the Bay League are going to go to the playoffs. And we've been in a position trying to get our way to that 3rd spot and fighting for it, trying to get to the 2, to the 1. And for us, we've been stuck in that 4 hole. And for us, though, we were able to get in as an at-large. And as an at-large, you can still go make some noise in the division that may not even be as comparable to your league.
Right.
Our league has teams from the high divisions 3, 4, 5, all the way down to 7 with Culver City, and we're in Division 10. So it's great to battle in league because we know if we can get to a playoff game, we have a true advantage.
Which is what Coach did a few years back and got to the CIF championship.
Right.
Yeah.
So
which is awesome.
It's a great thing to play in the Bay League. I truly believe it's one of the toughest leagues in the area when you go team for team, pound for pound, especially.
Did it change again this year? Did they add a new team or take a team out this year, or is it
Of
still
the Bay League?
Yeah.
It's the same Bay League.
Same
Yeah,
team.
same Bay League. Culver City and Santa Monica are the 2 that there's usually 2 every couple of years that they change. But as far as, I'll just add a little bit on there. I have no really idea how they work the playoffs anymore. So it's changed even in the last couple of years. As far as like divisions and where teams go and why do they go. We won't know. We honestly, if we earn a playoff spot, we won't know until we earn that playoff spot what division we will be in. Right. And CIF has a formula. They put that in and they're trying to create more equity. And sometimes it works. And sometimes I don't know. So I don't know if there's a perfect way, but we just keep plugging away.
Yeah. Let's talk about just being a coach. Some of the intangibles you need as a coach that you feel provide success, and then how you motivate the kids today. I recall, again, going back to my Mariless days, Coach Kimbrell, who you knew, Coach Small as well, and they actually went on when Mariless closed, and they coached at Peninsula High, which became the one high school on the hill. So they went over there as well. But Coach Kimbrell, he was small in stature, but boy, he had a big personality and a big intensity. And that guy would literally, in between our double day practice where we were dying, he would go run around the whole peninsula. He'd run the whole hill and come back and then, be ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
So talk about some of the intangibles you feel that are needed out there and how you're motivating today's high school player.
I think just coaches in general, I think there's just different buttons to push and pull, and I think that's always the challenge, trying to figure out how to get the most out of your players and each one, and how to do that, how to get them, and I think the good coaches figure that out, and so their players go out and play the hardest they possibly can. I mean, that's really what we want, right? If they can just go out there and do their very best. So how do you do that? Yeah, sometimes I don't know. I don't know what the exact recipe is for that, but I know it's different sometimes for each player. But as a group, there's some kind of basics, but I really think it is just somehow getting them to try their very best, try their very best, whether that's on the field, off the field, whatever that is. But yeah, maybe Coach could talk a little bit, because I don't really know the exact recipe. Patience is part of it, sure. Dealing with a lot of other things than X's and O's. This game is I almost want to say very little about X's and O's, but it is a lot of X's and O's, but a lot of other things too.
Yeah, and I'll just say that off of that is the first thing Guy taught me was when you become a head coach, it's less about X's and O's. It's more about everything else. So what I would say is patience and stamina, because it starts when you wake up and it doesn't stop till you stop the season. Because even when you go to bed, the emails are coming, the texts are coming. There's so many more ways to get a hold of a coach now.
Right.
And believe it, parents will do it, kids will do it. And if they aren't doing it, then that's where you got to have patience to say, why aren't you doing it? So I know those two things for me, my big things. But what I've learned, I'll be honest, in the 7th season coming up here for me is empathy. I've really learned to understand more what the kids need, what my coaches need, kind of on that side. Because I know as a younger coach, I never even thought that. I was just go, teach with passion, teach with energy, and that'll work, which I still do. But now it's more empathetic. Yeah. Hey, what are we going to need to do to get through this? How are you feeling versus, and that. And I think it's important as a coach who's done it now, this is going to be my 23rd season, to finally have a light bulb like that click on. I think it's going to help out our program.
Yeah,
and one more thing, and it's hard, but it's happened. Surround yourself with good people,
Yeah, right.
and good coaches, and coaches that care about the kids too, and I've been very blessed, with Dave and everybody else that have been part of our staffs. I know he's got good coaches too, and they soon find out that it's not just X's and O's too. It is a little bit, but it's really trying to, get the guys in the right track and on and off the field.
I'm Joe Alessi. I am a broker associate with RE/MAX Estate Properties. So the beauty of our industry is consumers have choices all over the place. What they don't know when it comes to real estate is what to really look for. So things that they should think about is looking for someone that will do the little things. I will lose a deal before I allow someone to do something that's not going to benefit them. I've been with RE/MAX Estate Properties about 11 years now. The clientele I work with can be very vast, from someone buying their first home, of course, to someone upsizing their home. Could be a lot of different things that they're looking for. A lot of people love to say they go the extra mile. You'll hear that all the time. I am not afraid to get my hands dirty around the house. And under the house, go into an electrical panel myself, or climb on somebody's roof. It could be anywhere. I tend to become friends with many of the people I work with. This is not a one and done type of business. This is a lifelong relationship once it starts. Today, another element that the kids had to deal with that we didn't have to deal with, nor did the coaches, is social media, right? Yeah. And it impacts things in a lot of different ways, as we know. So there's things that the kids deal with that can be a negative because of the social media, but it's also fun for these athletes, because if they're trying to go on to play ball at the next level, they're pumping out videos to head coaches and other things like that. So there's a lot going on that platform that was never existed before.
Right.
Is there anything about that has impacted the game for you, and you, again, how you relate to the players and what you have to deal with because of that element?
Yeah, I think there's positive to it. There's some positive to it. How we, what's the big word, disseminate information to them is easier, and give them different platforms to study plays even, and that's great if they're doing that. But there's so many things they can see and look at on their phones. There's a lot of good, and self-promotion. Get their stuff out there if they're a recruitable athlete. That's great. I think overall, though, not just players but also students. I think the challenge, the difference I've seen is that there is a challenge for them to really fully focus for a long period of time, or what is that period of time? Whether when we're showing film or we're talking, just as teaching, and teachers have it too. That I think we're getting so. Things come faster, shorter bits, and I know for me, I've tried to change the style of how I coach like that, shorter bits, but and it doesn't mean that the kids aren't trying. We got good kids, but it's a challenge for them on a longer period of time to be patient and listen and focus. Even if they're in line and you're showing how to run a route. Right. Second or third player may not be, and then you got to teach it again, and then you got to teach it again, and again, they're not trying to do it. It's what I see though. It's a little bit more challenging. I don't know.
I was going to say it's the same thing. It's like a product of not having it here, and they've got to be here, And I try to enforce, hey, if we're obviously in film, that film better not even be visible. It should be gone, so you don't. No phone. But I got an alert. Well, that alert can wait. Those alerts have waited for years for people, so just put it away, I mean, at team dinners, unless you're watching the football game on Thursday, not on your phone, put it away, because we're not texting or checking someone else's settings or whatnot. It could become a distraction. I like it because it doesn't have to be a toy, it could be a tool. And if they do it the right way and they use it as a communication device to talk to me or we have a group text on there, so when people forget stuff, make sure things are happening. So responsibly using it, I try to preach that part of it.
Right. Well, let's talk about your opponent coming up, because your game is a week and a half away, more or less, coming up quickly. Is school even in session at that time?
No.
So school's not even in yet. You got a game. You have a home game. I think you're going away. So you'll be at Peninsula High School. I think you're playing Dominguez.
Yeah, we played Dominguez High School.
About that
opponent.
And
We have our work cut out for us, that's for sure. I mean, not only we saw them a couple weeks ago at the end of summer at a turn of 7-on-7 turn, so we got to see what they look like, and they look just as good as they did last year when they beat us 25-7. But we have a different idea of how we want to approach it this year. Our attack, our game plan we're putting in right now for them is going to be a better one than last year, because the kids putting forth the effort now, I think is different than last year. We have a resilient group of young men this year, which I've spoke with you about before. Is they came in as about 32 as freshmen, and there's only about 9 of them left. And a couple guys have jumped on to give us 19 seniors total. But we lost a lot of them. But when you do that, they get tighter and tighter and tighter, and they don't weaken. And that's what I've seen so far. So I'm looking for us to have a good game against Dominguez. Obviously, I would like to see us go out and play as hard as we possibly can. That's all I ever ask of them. We have some pretty talented seniors this year that I really, really am excited to see them break out their senior year. They've worked so hard since the day season ended to now, and still work, obviously. It's just selfishly, I want to see them have the best year possible for them, because they've been selfless in their work for us to get here. And like I said, we have a tight senior group, and I really let them drive the ship because they've earned the trust from me. So again, I'm excited selfishly to see how this thing goes. I wish we could kick off tomorrow, because that anticipation on my side would cut down the lesson. I could stop working on game plans and just execute something. But yeah, we got to get through Lakewood Friday. It's our scrimmage. I told him, I said, that's Dominguez out there. They're just Lakewood team, but we got to execute like that's Dominguez. So we're going to go in, like I always tell them, just go in 100%, and then no regrets, guys, no regrets.
did you come into this season revamping your offense or defense in any magnitude that's significant? Or are you still pounding the ball? You're trying to throw it a lot?
Without telling my opponent everything, yes, everything got revamped. I'm not going to lie. I actually stepped away from coaching defense this year because I'm now coaching the offensive side of ball. One of the defensive coaches is now coaching as the defensive coordinator and then brought in another defensive staff. So I've flipped sides, so I'm doing a whole different thing now myself, and there's a new defensive group doing their new thing. So to say it'll be new, it's the same, similar, but everybody brings their own new twist to things. So there's a sense of newness to it, that's for sure.
Right. And I know you've always liked to run the ball. You've had some great running backs there. You've had some pretty good quarterbacks as well, and guys that have gone on to play at the college level too. So talk about how you've come into this season, because the kids are also, they're watching certain college teams and they want to do certain things, right? Versus what you need to do to knowing what your personnel is, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean that's
so you got St. Joseph's coming up.
Yeah, we open up in on the 19th on the road, about a 4-hour bus ride up to Santa Maria to play St. Joseph's High School. Really solid team, big, strong. I got a couple kids over 320 pounds. They're really good. I got an elite quarterback. They're well coached. So it's definitely going to be a challenge. We have some key seniors for sure, and then we have some young guys that were young last year, and they're still young. And they're a year older, but they're still young. That we're hoping, we're trying these 2 weeks to try to, and since last spring and the summer, try to gel, try to come together and all work together, which is what we're still trying to do. And we're not there yet, so we're going to go work on it later this afternoon. That's going to be a tough one. But we know that they're all going to be tough.
Right.
So we really try to just focus on us a lot, and we just try to go after today's practice and then see what happens. We have a scrimmage also this week down in Orange County with Foothill and Tustin. It's a two-way thing, and they're nice enough to bring us along because we got kind of stuck with scheduling. It gets kind of goofy. But so we're you mentioned we like to run the ball. I I would truly love to be a 50-50 team, and run, pass 50-50. Just kind of sometimes what the games go and what we're good at. And I always tell the kids, hey, if we could throw it really well and we got guys that can run the routes, and we could block for them, we'll throw it a lot more. And we'll run it more if that's what we're good at. So we're trying to figure that out. But the goal, I think, it truly is to be, at least for us, 50-50 team.
Do you think that the style of your offenses leads to, I know because one of the challenges these days are kids are going all over the place. They're switching schools last minute, they're going here, going there, which again, we couldn't do back in the day. Do you think that all like the style of your offenses has any impact on that kid wanting to go somewhere different? They're going to throw the ball more somewhere else. Do you think that has anything to do with?
Maybe. A little bit? Probably. I don't know. Sometimes I'm not sure what has impact people. I think the biggest, what I see, coming from colleges and how easy it is to transfer now is just seems like a lot of kids, if they feel that it's how do you want to say this, an easier opportunity to get on the field, I think that might be the biggest impact. Yeah. Get on the field. Instead of, this is my school, this is what I'm loyal to, this is what we're going to work to, we're about a team, we're about having this experience and competing. And it's not their fault because this is what we're seeing as examples, and this is what's happening all over the place, which is that's the world we're in now. Right. So it's, get us on the field. So I don't know if it's the type of offense or defense you're running, or is it just the opportunity to get what you want?
Well, my youngest son, Julian, he was lured away. Yeah. He at one point, and he actually did go there, right, for modern day, I think, right, for just a short time. Yeah. He got there and he realized that, okay, the football program is probably obviously on another level, but he didn't feel the community and the friendships and the things that were also important to him. So he did come back, thankfully, and had a great season.
Yes, thankfully.
But I think but certain kids, sometimes they're not looking at the whole picture. Sometimes, and you can still go to PV High and Penn High. If you're a good enough athlete, you're going to get the looks. You're going to be able to go and play at the next level because it happens every year.
Especially with and I'll let Coach talk, but with the social media and everything, you can get yourself out there. Yeah, you can get yourself out there.
And the coaches I know they come to me or Guy first because they always say, "Where are you going next?" or "Where did you go before?" And I go, "I just talked to Coach Gardner." And it's the whole Pac-12 comes through. The groups from the Mountain West, at San Diego States and whatnot. So you could get out. You just have to work hard enough and be of that natured athlete. If they're not looking for an average athlete, they're looking for elite athletes. Right. So I don't think Guy and I get the elite athlete. I think we coach them at an elite level to get them to be really good. To perform at their best. You look at the track record of Palos Verdes High School. You talk about being lured away by other schools. I would be lured in to go to the finals or to the playoffs and win the Bay League every single year. And I think kids get jaded by that because they want individual performance. Whereas I'd be on the team and I want to go make sure that I'm in the playoffs every year. I would rather not sacrifice, the team for those individual accomplishments. Right. So.
Are you finding at the Pop Warner level, before they get to high school, are they still cultivating the players in decent numbers as well as in a way that is preparing them to play at the high school level?
Well, I'll be honest, I get a very small amount of Pop Warner football players to Peninsula. Like out of our 25 freshmen, 4 of them played tackle football at a Pop Warner level.
So they're playing for the first time?
They're playing for the first time. So our Pop Warner impact is very low. I know I get to handful more, but at the same regard, I know other people are coming before we even get a shot to get them and recruit them right out of there to go to the private schools or to schools outside of the area. Yeah. And that's common. That's really common nowadays.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think they do a good job with Pop Warner in our area, but we don't get all those kids. Right. We might get maybe a few more depending on the year, but the majority of our guys also are probably first-time players, which is fine, or first-time tackle players, which is fine too. We'll train them. I just would like numbers, and if you get the kids that come out and stay with it, and again, it's about experience, and these life lessons that I think, you get them in a lot of sports, but of course what we know is our sport, and I know there's a lot of life lessons that you get in this thing, and when you stay with it, and going back to your son, Julian came back for the reasons that he felt were important, and that was be part of a school. He was involved in ASB, he's involved with friends, he's involved, and it all worked out. And I'm glad, and now he gets to look back, and he'll always remember that, and he graduated from that same high school. And a lot of times, and I talk with my team about this, I worry about the number of kids that it's all about chasing something, and it may not be a CIF championship. So for some of them, it's chasing getting on the field, wherever that is. And everybody's got their own, I guess, objective, but it seems that's happening more and more. I'm wondering when we look back 10 years from now, 5 years from now, is that the best move we made? Is that, it could be for some, but for some maybe not, and who told them what, and who are they listening to, and what's going on, and where I went to 4 high schools or whatever they might have, just because they were trying to find something, Again, sometimes that fits, sometimes that doesn't fit that mold.
Right. Yeah, 100%. That's very true.
Well, I really appreciate you guys coming here today. I know there's a lot going on that you need to get back to. You will next meet up, unless something happens in between, on October 28th. You guys will play one another. That's the big game for the Hill. Is there any chance that we're going to see that game under the lights at any point? Is that coming?
Well, not this year.
I was going to say, because it's over there. I mean, in the coming years, it could be under the lights. We're trying to do a night game every year at Peninsula. We're trying to fundraise for it through the program and try to put one together. Selfishly, I want to have senior night, because I know senior nights are better than senior days a lot of times, just because senior day doesn't get the involvement of
it's hard
the
to get
people that
away
need to
from
be there.
Work sometimes.
So something we're trying to implement up at Peninsula is senior night, and it's a cost that I think is well worth the experience. And so I have our administration on board for one a year, so hopefully we can get one of those, because that's our last game of the year, which would be a great senior night too. So
great. Well, good luck next week and for the season.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this. I think this is great.
This is great.
Getting it out there on the Hill and celebrating the sports on the Hill, in particular our football programs. It's awesome.
Thanks for tuning in today. We look forward to the next episode on PVPN.